Yeah, Indrani, just a question before we start. When it says live on YouTube, is it streaming right now for everyone or only for the participants?
Only for the participants.
Only for the participants.
Yes,
Thank you.
and we are live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the second webinar of the 18th Social Entrepreneurship for Innovation in Health course. We'll just take a brief pause to allow all the participants join the session. And if you can see the screen and your peers cannot, please comment in the discussion forum asking them to refresh the browsers. Also, if you're watching us live, please don't forget to take the survey that you find below the screen because you get extra credit points to watch us live. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the second webinar of the season. As you are aware, this course is part of Global Making More Health initiative. The initiative explores innovative ways to improve access to healthcare for people, animal, and communities around the world. Through the course, participants connect with a global cohort of health professionals from across private, public, and nonprofit sector. They all convene to learn about entrepreneurial strategies to create the best social and business impact with their work in the health and wellness space. So before we jump in with our incredible guest expert for today, just a reminder, if you have not taken the survey yet, please do so. Also, don't forget to bring in your question for our guest expert in the discussion forum, and we'll have it addressed during the span of the session. Also, today's session is aligned with this week's module, Entrepreneurial Challenges and Opportunities. So feel free to ask your question in sync with this theme or otherwise. And now, a big welcome to Dr. Sara Saeed Khurram. She is a digital healthcare leader, influencer, and innovator. As a guest expert of the session, she will share with us her strategies of overcoming challenges and seizing opportunities. Dr. Sara is the founder of Sehat Kahani, a telehealthcare platform in Pakistan that focuses on democratizing healthcare access for all. The organization is now expanding to new geographies beyond Pakistan. Thank you, Dr. Sara, for joining us today. Welcome to this session, and we are very excited to hear lots of stories from you.
Thank you, Indrani. I think it's such a pleasure to keep returning to the course again and again. And hello to everyone who is joining us online. My name is Dr. Sara Saeed Khurram. So Assalamu alaikum and good evening to you all from Karachi, Pakistan, which is where I come from. A little background about myself before I can share about Sehat Kahani is that I'm a medical doctor by profession, 36-year-old, a mother of two kids. And I, along with having a medical degree, I also have a post-graduation in radiology and public healthcare. I have been running Sehat Kahani, which is my organization that works on digital healthcare access, affordability, and efficiency in Pakistan for the last 7 years. But before that, I've worked in community medicine, public healthcare. And I think my passion really stems from how do we get equitable access of healthcare to everyone in the country where I come from, and also take that model regionally to provide equitable access to all. So I'm really feeling happy to be here today. And I would just start building a little context about Sehat Kahani, Indrani, if you allow me.
I would say that let's start a little bit about how did you get into social entrepreneurship, because you're a doctor. So how did you get into this, and then how did you found Sehat Kahani?
Sure. So I was born in a middle class family. So I'm the youngest of two brothers, and I come from a country where when middle class parents have money to educate their daughters, they mostly want them to become doctors. And there is a whole science behind why they want them to become doctors. If you're a woman in my country, and if you are tall, if you're fair, if you're pretty, and if you're a doctor, you make the best hand in marriage. And there's a term for these women doctors in my country. It's called the doctor brides. So becoming a doctor in the country really raises your social stature and your nobility. So everyone who has a little money saved for their daughters, they think it's safest for them to become doctors so that they up that food chain. So I also, because of the same notion of my parents, entered into my medical college. And when I entered into my medical college, I saw that 80% of my class was women. And they had all come, most of them had all come with the same dream and the same vision to become a doctor and raise their social stature and become more noble. As we transitioned through years of medical college, I saw that a lot of them started to get married and started having children, and somehow their dreams turned from nobility to nobility of serving their patients to nobility in serving their family and having children and being a good mother for them. So most of them were asked or forced to make a choice between themselves and their family. And that I learned happens to a lot of women doctors in the country. So a lot of my peers never worked after graduation. When I entered into my last year of medical college, which is doing internship in a tertiary care hospital, I was working in the largest tertiary care hospital of Pakistan. And there I saw what happens when a doctor does not work and reaches to a deserving community. A lot of patients in that tertiary care hospital came with issues that could have been managed at at a primary healthcare level, but unfortunately, because there was no doctor in that community, their issues converted into secondary care and then tertiary care. And later on, they just came to the hospital as a comfortable way to die because their family members thought that if they don't bring them to the hospital now, that would be a guilt that they would carry on with their life. And I saw this story repeating after every third or fourth bed that I was served into in the hospital. So that got me thinking that we have a huge doctor patient mismatch in the country. But with that thought, life moved on, and I also got married right after my graduation, also became that doctor bride. The only thing different in my journey was I started my residency. Unfortunately, as I was nearing the end, not unfortunately, but incidentally, I got pregnant and I had to quit. Um, I was pretty devastated because I really wanted to pursue my post medical graduation. So, just to pass that time of pregnancy, because I didn't want to sit at home, I was very adamant that I had to work. I started doing a clinic in a low income area in my city, which is Karachi. And women doctors don't even go to a lot of low income areas within my own city. So that was a new thing for that community. I loved it, seeing patients in primary care. After my delivery, I moved to a new city and I had to leave that clinic. And again, I was in a house with a baby in a relatively new marriage. And this time, I thought that I had become that doctor bride that could not work now. And that pushed me into severe postpartum depression. In that time, just to get out of my depression, I used to look for a lot of work opportunities from home. And this is a time when work from home wasn't a normality. So I got a call from the nurse that used to work with me in my community clinic. And she said, "See, you've left and we can't find a doctor to replace you." And in that moment, I just said, "Okay, whenever a patient comes to you, just take me on call and I will see that patient on call." 1 week later, she reverted back and she said, "Listen, this is not working. They don't trust the voice. They need to see you. They need to see the doctor that was working with them." So I said, "Okay, what should we do?" So she said, "Okay, what I'll do is I'll stick a webcam to my laptop," because she didn't have a camera in her laptop.
Mhm.
So she stuck a webcam with tape and we started doing video calls. And that just, that was my aha moment in life where I thought that, okay, I'm sitting in a different city in my house. I'm seeing a patient in a different city, miles apart, and technology is helping me do this. So why can't we create a platform on which all doctors can come online and see patients? Mind you, this is 2014-15, huge time before COVID and before technology has kicked in into our houses.
Mhm.
I thought of this brilliant idea, but I was also a 26-year-old doctor onto my clinical journey with very limited money. So I had no money to start my business. I just had the idea. So I pitched in a few startup competitions and I won $25,000 in a startup competition. And as I come from middle class family, that was a big amount for me. So that stressed me out. And I came back to my city and I said, I will pilot this idea. At that time, my family thought I was crazy because they all thought I will continue my clinical career, become a clinician, become a radiologist, live my life, make a lot of money, and live the life that path that they had all chosen for me. But somehow I had incredible resolve in the idea that this could absolutely change primary healthcare in the country. So with that little amount of money, we started revamping community clinics into telemedicine clinics. And from there on onwards, the rest is history. But my start was my start was very impulsive. It was I often say it was destined. that I find my path this way, and it was extremely coincident.
Congratulations. And that's an incredible story. And of course, I'm sure a lot of people are going to just remember it because of this Dr. Bride phenomena. You were so candid about it. So the screen is all
Yeah.
yours to tell us the story of Sehat Kahani.
Thank you, Indrani. Let me just share my screen. All right, perfect. So for everyone and for the benefit of the group, Sehat Kahani means story of health. And the vision of the company, as I said, is to democratize healthcare access for all using technology. And the company is not just paid by me, but my excellent co-founder, my best friend. And we founded this together. She joined 3 months after I had my epiphany. And since then, we have been running the company together. So between years, we share a 14 years plus experience in telemedicine, in public health, in the pharma sector. I, since that time, have been an Acumen Fellow, Arena Art Fellow by Milagro Foundation. I'm the only female Rolex Award winner for Enterprise. I'm a young global leader by World Economic Forum. And I'm also part of the Cartier's Women Initiative. So, really, a lot that I've learned through these fellowships and through my experiences that have helped me get here where I am. I also just want to mention, because I love to brag about the work that I do, Sehat Kahani was also the only company from Pakistan chosen in the Forbes 100 to Watch Asia list last year, which was an incredible moment of pride for me and my co-founder. So just building the context for the story that I just shared, but I think numbers are extremely important. So as I said, we have a huge Dr. Bride issue. So just putting some numbers into the context, Pakistan has 245,000 doctors for a population of 240 million people. That means we should have one doctor for 1,000 patients. 80% of our workforce is women, but unfortunately, due to social cultural barriers, such as being a doctor bride, only 40% of them ever practice. Additionally, a lot of doctors move away from the country for better work opportunities. So in actuality, we have half a doctor for 1,000 patients, which is lowest in the MENAP region. It also means that for a population of 240 million people now, 50% of our population never sees a doctor in their lifetime. And that's something that I experienced in my journey as well. But the ray of hope or an opportunity in the middle of this crisis is Pakistan is also one of the countries which have an incredibly high mobile phone penetration and internet penetration and smartphone penetration. So half of our country has access to a smartphone today, which is an incredible bridge between the two problems that we're trying to solve. So as I told you, Sehat Kahani is a digital healthcare platform that connects online doctors with a particular focus on women doctors and bringing them back to work, to patients, providing affordable, quality, convenient, and accessible healthcare. And we do it by 3 ways now. So I told you how I started Sehat Kahani, which was upgrading traditional clinics in low-income areas into telemedicine clinics. We started this officially in 2016-17. We went into low-income areas, found nurses which were already running clinics in those areas, but we said that we want to upgrade your medical practice by connecting you to an online doctor so that when a patient comes to you, you can connect the patient to a doctor. We also provided once a week lab service, ultrasound service in those clinics so that it can become a one-stop shop. But as we were building the network of clinics in 2019, I realized that while the clinics were extremely impactful, the impact was limited because of the geographical restriction around that community. By this time, smartphone applications had become popular in Pakistan, and we also created a mobile version of our clinic, which is Sehat Kahani mobile app, which we launched in late 2019. That was the perfect time to launch an application in healthcare as COVID hit the country in 2020, and our app got disseminated across the country by the government. It became very popular in two forms. So Sehat Kahani mobile app is used in 2 ways in Pakistan. It has a consumer version so people can download it and connect to doctors within the application. We also created a very interesting feature in the application, which is called the 60-second option. So you can do an instant consultation with a doctor. It can be a chat, audio, or video consultation. And we also launched a corporate version of the application in which our application is given coupled with insurance companies as a part of health insurance to corporate employees and their families. This is a B2B version in which the employer pays us for providing primary healthcare services through telemedicine for their employees and families.
Mm.
As we created the mobile application and clinics, we realized that there is one sector that can't reach our clinics and can't reach our mobile application as well. So either they're not in the geography that we are in, or they don't have access to smartphones. So in collaboration with Lifebuoy Pakistan, which is a brand of Unilever, we created a mobile a helpline that allows patients to connect to doctors on call if nothing else. So they call in, a nurse takes a primary history in our call center and connects them to an online doctor on call using a feature phone. And if not all, we're able to provide them at least primary care counseling and advice to help them in their medical journey. In COVID-19, we proved the concept of Sehat Kahani mobile app by working on 6 or 7 different projects with the government, and we did 110,000 plus primary care consultations. This was really our hockey stick growth in which we really took up. We were able to make tele ICUs across the country, 60 tele ICUs that enabled critical care specialists to see a lot of patients in ICUs without being physically present there. We got integrated in the National Health Portal of Healthcare. Today, Sehat Kahani, considering its vision of enabling female doctors, has a network of 7,500 healthcare professionals in its network, 81% in Pakistan, but 19% international as well. We have 40 key specialties available in primary care and early secondary care. So it's not just a GP ad, it's an app that actually provides specialist consultations as well.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk about our total impact, Sehat Kahani has a network of 68 clinics across the country today in all 4 provinces. We're the largest network of telemedicine clinics in the country. In terms of our application, we're the largest corporate telemedicine provider as well. We work with 750 plus corporates today through 5 insurance companies. We've done 2.6 million consultations till date, and our consumer app has around 1.6 million users. And overall, we've impacted 7.2 million people through our counseling, consultations, health education, etc. This is just a snapshot of the corporate sector that uses our app. So our app is used by banks, pharmaceuticals, FMCGs, telcos. And usually people prefer using Sehat Kahani application because people in big cities don't have the time to go to a doctor. So it is convenient and accessible for them, and also affordable because it is cashless, being delivered by their company as a value-added service. We've also worked a lot in low-income areas on different projects promoting maternal child health care, working with refugees of humanitarian conflicts, creating more clinics there, working a lot in mental health. So one of the biggest problems in Pakistan is Pakistan has 500 psychiatrists and psychologists for a population of 240 million people. So the math just goes out of the window. And that means that these psychiatrists and psychologists are not only difficult to access, but extremely unaffordable for a large majority of our population. So working with British Asian Trust, we subsidize the cost of consultations in our clinic on our app, enabling a large majority of patients to access mental health services for a long period of time. We also give our app to community healthcare workers in low-income areas so that when they go door-to-door, they can connect the patient to an online doctor as well. I pride Sehat Kahani being an impact business. So we have an impact wing, which is our clinics, which helps us impact a lot of patients in low-income areas, but our mobile application, particularly our corporate vertical, allows us to make money to sustain the company as well. So Sehat Kahani financially in the last year did a GTV of $3.4 million from our corporate consumer app and clinics. We did 1.3 million consultations just last year. We had a 38% follow-up rate and a 93% customer satisfaction rate. So where are we moving forward? I think we are growing all 3 verticals in different ways. And that's the beauty of having different products at Sehat Kahani. So on our eHealth application, we provide consultations with doctors, but we realize that we're also creating prescriptions. And that's also an opportunity to provide quality medicines to patients. So now we have started an e-pharmacy business in which we are providing our corporate customers online pharmacy, which is door-to-door and also through pickup points. We're also participating in tenders to integrate ourselves with not only private health insurance, but the national health insurance of the country so that everyone in Pakistan with that insurance can get access to our corporate healthcare services. For our clinics, because clinics need to be sustainable and long-term viable, we are now working with governments to convert their basic health units into telemedicine centers. And we've already done that in 13 of our clinics, where instead of the patient paying us, the government is paying us for consultation. And that's the vision we see as we expand out. For our application, it's already outsourced. It's already funded by Lifeboy through a long-term contract. So it is free for the customer, and it allows us to run this program long-term. What are we doing next in terms of our broad-term strategy? So we realized in 2021 that health is not just a Pakistan issue. Health is a regional issue. Health is a global issue. And the different verticals that we have can be extremely helpful in different ways to other geographies. So as we talk now, Sehat Kahani is expanding outside Pakistan into GCC countries, Africa and Latin America. We're starting with GCC, and particularly in UAE, starting with 200,000 lives being covered on our corporate application. And the idea is to just take a solution, a homegrown solution out of patient mismatch there, accessibility and affordability issue. Is that the vision that I saw, that I talked about tertiary care hospital was that a lot of patients come with tertiary care issues that were actually primary care issues. And there is a way, and there is a very good way of stopping their health issue at the primary care level. It requires three things. It requires education, it requires access, and it requires affordability. And all three can be done through Sehat Kahani application and applications like Sehat Kahani. So the longer vision of the company is how do we modify a patient's journey from ending at primary care, not transitioning to tertiary care, and we can elongate their life and also their quality of life. So that's what I'm going to end with, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
On a side note, just because you mentioned Unilever and Lifeboy, I just wanted to tell you that in module 1, we actually started with the lecture with an example of entrepreneurship where we spoke about Lifeboy campaign, doing the hand wash campaign.
And washing, yeah.
So this is a great example that you're talking about. So I've also seen that there is one of the campaigns that was being promoted by Sehat Kahani and Lifeboy, that it does mention about calling a doctor. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I think sustainable living and hand hygiene and primary care is a big vision brand. I think the product the service that we run with them, it's called Lifeboy Live Free Doctor. So it means Lifeboy brought a free doctor to you. And the message is written on every pack of Lifeboy. And of course, they have Kahani's there. So they've created a toll-free number, and that number is mapped against Sehat Kahani's call center. So whenever someone needs a doctor, they call on their call center and they read out on our call center, and we're able to connect the patient to a doctor after initial triage. And that number is free for all across the country. You can be off from anywhere, and you just need a mobile phone and a SIM card, which is available to 90% of Pakistan now, to make that call and connect to a doctor. I'm telling you, Indrani, a lot of patients who call on that helpline have never talked to a doctor in their lifetime. I'll give you a very small story that really struck by me. We got a call from a 16-year-old girl, and she called, and first time she called, she disconnected. And then she called the second time, and then she connected to the doctor, because we also give a feedback call to every patient. So we actually called her back. And that's when she started talking to our nurse. She said that I am very scared because no one in my family knows that I'm calling on a helpline to connect to a doctor. So after a few trust building conversations, she finally connected. And she said that she was 16 years old and she hadn't gotten her period. And there was no one in her entire family, her community, that she could talk to this about. This was such a taboo in our region, that if you're 16-year-old, you're marriageable age, and you're not getting your period. So the doctor helped her and counseled her, and was able to help her professionally. And then that woman, that girl, became a champion for our helpline across her communities. So she then brought in her friends, women who are going through other sexual and reproductive issues, and she really championed, because she was able to connect to a doctor and get the right amount of healthcare. So I think stories like these are so impactful and they are so motivating for us to continue our vision. In floods, when the floods came in 2022, which was the most devastating floods that Pakistan had ever seen, one third of the country was underwater. We created a mobile clinic with LifePoint, which our helpline was available along with physical doctors and nurses. And we started the clinics in November. And in January, a kid walked in and she had been walking in water for the last 5 days. And when they saw her foot had maggots. So for the last 4 months, she had been in water and she wasn't able to get any sort of medical health care until she came to our clinic. And we helped her. We took the maggots out. We were able to connect her with an online dermatologist through our application. She saw in real time. She counseled her, and the patient kept coming back, and we were able to heal her after 3 or 4 visits. And that also shows the power of technology and the power of getting access to the patient at the right time. Because if that girl had not gotten treated for another couple of months, they would have amputated her foot, and she would have lost her foot forever. So I think all those stories are really impactful and really motivate us to continue our vision.
Great story, especially because we know that the hand wash campaign was a global campaign, and this is a very localized effort, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it will have a lot of applications in a lot of other countries if it is replicated. So thank you
Yeah.
very much for sharing that story. Extraordinary journey, extraordinary impact, and also not to mention that telemedicine is quite familiar to us today, but
Yeah.
I'm sure when you got started, as you said, it was quite disruptive. So we have a few participants. They are actually asking the factor that you spoke about mental health, that, expressing mental health. They are we have some participants who are expressing concern over mental health conditions in countries and communities. And what they're asking is, do you see that there is a potential of telemedicine in supporting response to mental health crisis? And also, is this something that you have encountered in your community already?
Yeah. Yeah. So I touched briefly upon this. I think in Pakistan, the data says that every third person is going under a mental health issue. So this is a huge burden for the country. This is a huge burden for our population. And particularly for women who are extremely disenfranchised when it comes to access to mental health services. And we face a huge taboo in even talking about our mental health issues. So if you walk into more rural areas, and if the people think that you have a mental health issue, they will probably think that you have been occupied by a ghost, and you're acting this way because a ghost has come upon you. And then they start treating you spiritually and religiously and ask you to read more religious material to overcome your mental health issue and completely eliminate all other diagnostic causes. Um, when we started as a physical healthcare center. So I categorize health issues into physical healthcare, which is concerning to different body parts. We didn't think of being mental health care providers. And because I was a physician, my primary inclination was primary care, primary care, primary care. And even I wasn't very aware that mental health diagnosis is a very essential part of primary care. My perception changed when I opened my fourth clinic. And I have opened a lot of clinics in the mountainous area of Pakistan, which is called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. It's the northern province. Probably I went there more because I love traveling in mountains. I thought if I open a clinic, I can travel more. So as I was going to look for more clinics, I stumbled upon a hospital, a mental health hospital, which was the second biggest mental health hospital in Pakistan, not in Pakistan, in KP, where the province was. And when I walked inside, it was 2nd January. I still remember 2nd January 2016. So I was in this puffer jacket because it was very cold. It was 2 degrees. And I went into this clinic and I saw 200 patients, 100 in the male ward and 100 in the female ward. And they were in paper thin sweaters. They had no fire. They had no heaters. And many of them were, they were tied to the beds. So I asked them, why are they tied to the beds? So she said, see, there is no psychiatrist or psychologist that comes into the second largest mental health facility in the province. So the nurse that is here, the male and female nurse, they give them sleeping pills and sleeping injections in the night, and they make them sleep in the night. And in the daytime, they're tied to the bed so that they don't get aggressive because they're not getting any treatment. So that just changed my entire my entire perception on what mental health issues people go through. And I decided then and then that we will launch a clinic here. And that really helped us understand how we can integrate mental health care into our clinics. Then we started working with British Asian Trust. And because we needed someone to subsidize the cost of the consultations, because if we had to get good quality doctors, we needed to pay them well. And patients in the communities could not pay that much for a consultation. Mental health consultation is so expensive that even I can't afford it after 10 to 12 sessions. So let alone a patient in low income area. So then we started working with British Asian Trust, and we didn't start with providing consultations from the first day. For 2 years, we just did education by doing support groups. So we collected 40 to 50 women in a week, and we told them about different mental health issues that they might be going through but are not aware of. So how do you say or you feel that you have anxiety? How do you say that you have depression? How do you say that you have a post traumatic stress disorder? How do you feel about it? And slowly and gradually, we realized that a lot of women were going through mental health issues, but they were not able to recognize it and instead showed it as somatic issues. So they might had a back pain or a chronic headache or a joint pain, which was actually their mental health issue, but coming out as a somatic issue. A lot of women said that, we don't have a problem, but our men, our husbands have a problem. And, there's domestic violence, there's a lot of mental torture, there's a lot of verbal torture because they're not able to express their mental health issues. So they take out on us. And slowly and gradually, they started bringing their husbands. And so the second thing we did after 2 years was that we trained all our nurses across the board as mental health first aid providers. We then integrated the PHQ-4 questionnaire in our primary history taking form so that we understand from the first consultation which patient had a mental health issues, and the primary healthcare responder, which is our nurse, is able to identify it. And then she connects a patient to a psychiatrist or psychologist on appointment. So it has been a very slow and steady journey of making ourselves capable enough to handle mental health issues. But just to answer the question, I feel that if there is one field that is extremely easy and efficient to do through telemedicine is a mental health counseling, because the doctor needs to talk to the patient. There aren't many medicines involved. It is a one-on-one consultation. It is confidential. No one else is hearing you. So what best to do it through telemedicine? And we've really seen that we've gone from 2,000 consultations in our clinics in 2019 to last year doing 70,000 consultations in mental health care alone in our clinics, and we're replicating the same on our app as well. But it really helped with creating that trust and that awareness in the communities to then talk about these sensitive issues and then connect the patient to the doctors.
Great. So Nancy and Adrian, if you're still seeing us, you will know that not only Dr. Sara has witnessed this in the community, but already 70,000 sessions have been delivered.
Yeah.
So Dr. Sara, this is great work, and it's evident of all the commitments that has gone behind building Sehat Kahani. And I'm sure it hasn't been free of challenges. You may have come across lots of hurdles and challenges in choosing your pathways and keep going. So just because this week's module is around challenges and opportunities, could you please tell us some of the challenges that you faced when you were setting up your venture, and how did you overcome that?
I think the very first challenge that I faced was an internal challenge. How do I convince myself that I'm able to solve this challenge without any previous background or education in creating a business? So how overcome that challenge was I involved myself in a lot of entrepreneurship programs, a lot of executive education programs such as this, and really built my knowledge quickly. And I learned through trial and error. So I remember my second clinic closed down in 3 months. And that really gave me that revelation that if I need to build the company, I need to build it with processes, procedures, to a proper needs assessment. So I learned with every failure. We also placed a challenge on how to select the right clinic, how to make the right pricing. And that wasn't a thing that we learned on day one. We experimented in a lot of different communities. We shut down some clinics because either the clinic was not created in the right area, the internet connectivity wasn't good, the nurse wasn't as passionate, people were not able to pay for the consultation. So after a lot of iterations and pivots in the model, we were able to learn what is the right pricing, the right clinic, the right nurse. Third thing is that when patients used to come in our clinics for the first 2 years, we could not get any patients in the clinics. We used to get like 5, 6, 8 patients a day. And then we realized that, how are we going to get more patients in the clinic? We are an online service, so they can't see us, they can't trust us. So then we started working with the nurse more. We really made her the face of the entire clinic. We made her the champion. So when we started, we were giving her a 30-70, so 30 to her and 70 to us, because we wanted to make our clinic sustainable faster. But then we realized that if we're here for the long run, we have to do a 50-50 partnership with them. So then we started giving her 50% of whatever we made at the clinic, and that really changed their degree of involvement in the clinic. And then they started championing more patients coming to the doctors. Another thing that we learned is you cannot create any service without knowing how the service is working. So one of the challenges that we initially had was how to take the feedback from the patient, because if you take the feedback at the clinic, it is quite possible that they give a very good feedback because they're sitting in front of the nurse that they know of for the longest of the time. So then we created a call center service within our company that allowed independent feedback within 24 hours of the consultation. And we made it mandatory for the patient to give their phone numbers so that we can call them back, and also set a KPI for our teams. I think when we started the network of clinics, we started as a social enterprise. And the journey is extremely interesting because we turned from a social enterprise, which is purpose without profit, into an impact business, which is a purpose with profit organization. So to do that journey as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a female leader, was challenging because when we were making these clinics in the earlier years, people used to say, "Oh, how nice! You're doing such a nice social job," and everyone used to be happy about it and very admit. They used to admire the work that we do. But as soon as we said that we also want to work on a commercial product involving technology and corporates and consumers, people were like, you're such a good social service person. Why do you want to now get into business? So then we raised some eyebrows and we lost the trust of a lot of our advisors, mentors, investors. People really thought we wouldn't make it. But now I think I'm extremely proud that we took that leap of faith and we said that we're going to try this out, because in my mind, the model was that if we make enough money through our app, we would be able to sustain our clinics as well, which is a primary model of impact business. And we took that leap of faith, and destiny helped us by COVID happening and our app being used across Pakistan. I think another challenge again was when we were running the application, how do we divide resources between corporates, consumers, and our clinics? And that was a big problem. That how do we keep our moral compass to manage our time and resources between all three of them and not get deflected by making a lot of money to not do impact, or doing impact and not make money? So I think there I would really commend my team that they really stepped up to the opportunity, and we were able to make a great team for all different verticals of business. So now we have an entire corporate team that helps us building the corporate application. We have a consumer team for consumer, and then we have a clinical team. I think another challenge that we faced was fundraising as an impact business. Because in Pakistan, people know two kinds of businesses. They know an NGO, which is a non-for-profit organization, and they know a commercial business. There are very limited people who invest in impact healthcare in the country. And making sure that our investors understand that we are both was challenging. It's challenging even today. But I think if you're very true to your purpose and you explain that to any investor and you say that, this is a kind of investor that we want, and if you're not able to listen, to see our journey, both from an impact and profit angle, then maybe you're not the right investor for us, was something that we learned after 2 hard years of fundraising. So I think these are some of the challenges that I've been through, and I can go on and on about our challenges, but I think these are some of the challenges that I can just.
You just muted yourself, Dr. Sara.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just would like to mention to all the learners who are watching us that we might be facing a little bit of tech issue. So sometimes there is a little lag, very slow, little lag. So please bear with us, but we are here. So thank you for touching upon those very important challenges, which is relevant for, I think, everybody, all entrepreneurs at any stage of their journeys, especially when, like, not to give up when you fail. Also, continuously doing needs assessment of what is relevant to the communities and finding those champions in the communities. I'm going to come to my second question, which is building on what we just discussed, is that, in this module, we are stressing on the significance of understanding the core of social issue. If I just take Sehat Kahani's example only, you knew that there is an issue with access to quality healthcare for the population in Pakistan, and you also knew that there are doctors, there are medical practitioners available, and they are untapped. So there has to be something which will bridge that gap, and then you came up with Sehat Kahani. So what is your advice to our learners on how to identify an underlying cause of a social problem?
Indrani, I believe every problem is a social problem because it is affecting the population around us. But I was interested in solving the healthcare issue because it resonated with my personal struggle of not being able to join the workforce online. And a lot of it was to trust my instinct when my instinct was telling me that this is a solution that can work. A lot of us in our daily lives see the problems around us, but either we are so involved in our daily lives that we're not able to take that leap of faith, or we think that there will be a right time to solve this issue, maybe in our lives later, once we're settled, our children have grown up, we have some money saved in the bank accounts. But I would say that, if you really are connected to a problem, maybe it is a fintech problem. Maybe you see that there is no equity in how people access bank accounts. Maybe you're in education and see that a lot of children are out of school. Maybe you see that a lot of people don't have clean drinking water. There's a housing problem where people don't have access to affordable housing. These are all the issues that we see every day in our daily lives. And because of a certain incident in our lives or something that happened in our previous journeys, in our childhood or early adolescent journeys, you somehow are connected more to a problem than the other. So, for example, I cannot connect to the problem of education like I do with healthcare. But what people are not able to do is to take that leap of faith and actually start something. There are two reasons. A, your condition in my life would not allow it. B, it is just very difficult to take that first step to make yourself understand that, if I go from point A to point B, what do I need to do? And I think for both of it, I think my advice would be that if you see a problem around you and if you think you have a solution that can solve it, start, even if you start small. So you don't have to create 100 clinic empire in the first day. You don't have to create those 100 educational institutes in the first day. In your community, in your line of work, start implementing that solution. Unless and until you implement that solution, you will never see what impact it brings. Once you're in the ground, once you get your hands and feet dirty, that is when you realize, and that is when you realize if the solution works and if the solution doesn't work. So, for example, I'll give you a very personal example. I was very, very enthusiastic about tele ICU, which is something that we did in COVID, and I mentioned it. But once COVID is over, we realized through very tough challenges that that model was not viable because we could not, as in ICUs converted into their regular functioning post COVID, there wasn't a need of a tele ICU specialist full time. And our model did not work there. So it is also important to realize if your solution has long term impact or not. If not, you can finish and start on another problem. But if you see that people are really, you're really solving a challenge and people are really giving good feedback, then slowly and gradually you can build a business plan, a financial plan, a strategy for that and moving forward. But you need to start. That I think my advice would be start. If you think very strongly about a solution, just start, even if you start small.
Start, find a community champion, and hear the feedback of
Yeah.
the solution. Great, great. Okay, Dr. Sara, I'm going to turn to an infamous quote from Helen Keller that says, "Alone you can do so little, and together you can do so much." And turn your attention to another important aspect of entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship, and that is partnerships. Partnerships are very important for life cycle of developing a solution and an organization. So what are your golden rules in identifying and pursuing opportunities and partnerships?
I think whatever Sehat Kahani is today is because of the power of the partnerships that we build. So when we built the clinical model, we were providing telemedicine, but lab services and ultrasound service came through partners. Tertiary care referrals came through partners. So from day one, we started creating a stakeholder championed model in which someone is looking after the lab, someone is looking after ultrasound, someone is looking after tertiary care referrals. So it was more of a collaborative effort of all the medical players existing in the community and not just us. Um, if someone said that, we had a space and we're doing community sessions here, can you look at the space and do telemedicine there? We always said yes. And I think that is why we were able to grow more rapidly. When it came to our application, I think we always preferred a B2B model over B2C model because the B2B model helped us make more partnerships and have a partner whose problem we are solving. So when you talk about our corporate application, employees and their families undergo real challenges in primary healthcare because their company does not cover them and they have to take off work, go home, take their children to the doctor, and no one is reimbursing it for them. So when we solve this problem for them, it's actually a win-win situation. So we were always very, very big on creating partnerships. But one golden rule that we had, it has to be a win-win partnership. It has to be a partnership based on equality and respect. Just because we're a small organization, we're talking to a big corporate, doesn't mean that we should be able to negotiate for something which is not in our interest. Also, I think one thing that people don't do when they're building collaborations is follow up. So many times when I was following up on my conversation, the conversation would just die down after a few meetings because either they were not finding the time to respond to us or we are not giving the documentation. But one thing that I did was I kept following up. So even some partnerships that did not pan out on day one panned out in second year or third year, and we finally got them. Also in our clinics, we were able to work with, for example, WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, IPAS, British Asian Trust, and in bits and pieces, we were able to take something out of those partnerships. So a lot of our partners did not help us in building clinics, but they helped us in training our doctors. A lot of our partners did not help us in training the doctors, but helps us subsidize consultations. A lot of our partners helped us do our disaster work. So, for example, Lifebuoy came in with their mobile clinics. A lot of our partners promoted the application of clinics just through branding opportunities. And one of my biggest partners, and people really raise an eyebrow when I say that, has been the government. So I've worked with the government a lot on a non-financial basis in which they provide us access to their clinics, they promote our work in their conferences, whenever they talk about solutions. And that really gives us the credibility to move faster in our work. So I would say that if you're creating a partnership, again, it should be a win-win situation. It should be on equality. It should be on respect. And one thing that is true to any partnership is integrity. So if you can't perform something, just say no right in the beginning. If you think you failed, let your partner know that this has not happened and we're going to fix this. But communication and maintaining integrity in a partnership, particularly when you're talking about corporate partnerships, is extremely important.
Certainly, integrity and mutual respect certainly underscores I think, most important rule for partnerships.
Yeah.
Dr. Sara, you have a lot of lessons as social entrepreneur. The learners of this course are entrepreneurs. So what are the important lessons from your journey that an entrepreneur can adopt or adapt and use for working in their institutions?
So Sehat Kahani started with two doctors, me and my co-founder. But if I talk about reality, Sehat Kahani is actually made by 7 people. And 5 of those people weren't co-founders. So they were entrepreneurs in our business who took over a field in Sehat Kahani. So I think, but the true thing that was consistent in all of them is they really aligned with the purpose of the company. So if you're within an organization and if you're working as an employee and you want to transition in entrepreneur, it is extremely important that you align yourselves with the purpose, with the vision. That's where it all starts. Second is to cultivate entrepreneurship. The employer or the person who's sitting on the opposite side of the table, their responsibility is that they give autonomy as a founder or an innovator has. If you don't have autonomy, if you don't have the decision making power, if you can't take the risk and be accountable for its failures, then you're just an employee in a company. What is different between an entrepreneur and an employee is they're able to make autonomous decisions, take the risk, and be accountable for it. The fourth thing is that as even as an entrepreneur, I have been doing this for the last 8 years and I have no plan B. So if this fails today, I don't have a way out. I will need to think then what I do need to do in my life. I've never allowed myself to have a plan B. I think as an entrepreneur, you need to see if this function that you're taking over, this baby that you're adopting, is this your final plan? Does your life depend on it? Does your happiness and your sadness depend on it? Or have you prepared a plan B? Because if you have a plan B prepared, that if it doesn't work out, I'll move somewhere else, then you can't do this in the long run, that you will not raise the stakes in the game, that you will not take the risk. Because when you take great risk is when you accomplish great things. You also fail big, but you also accomplish big things. So in a nutshell, I think what I've seen in people in my organization that have taken on the responsibilities being an entrepreneur, some of the qualities that I've seen with them is alignment with purpose, ability to take risk, ability to take decisions, be accountable for failures, um, understanding how it connects to them on a personal level, and really showing perseverance and resilience to keep doing it until they find a solution. And that is a co-shared responsibility on the employer as well as the entrepreneur. But I think if you have to transition into an entrepreneur, you really have to find your purpose within an organization long term. I think that's extremely important.
What a wonderful point. So you are saying an entrepreneur, if you say you call yourself an entrepreneur, your connection with your institution has to be long term. And you
Yes.
really should have identified a goal that can be served for a long term.
Yes.
Brilliant. Dr. Sara, sadly, in the interest of time, we have to wrap up this great conversation. There's still so many questions that we have, but I'm going to move to the finale question and ask you, I heard you on the TED Talk that you were saying that I love the work. मेरे को मेरे काम से इश्क है. I'm saying it in Hindi.
Yeah.
Basically, it's so beautiful. When I heard that, I said, I'm going to repeat it like that you really said, I'm in love with my work and I have the courage to say it today. After a long time, that's how I love my work. So I would just like to ask you, you're a high performer, social entrepreneur. How do you maintain your health, motivation, and that forward-looking mindset?
I think, I think my love has transitioned into a marriage now. So I love it, but I also want to stay in it, which is what marriage is about. And I think that's the relationship that I have with my work now. I think it really makes me happy being able to do this, and it makes me happy without any external validation of money, of awards, of recognition. It just makes me happy to sit in my chair, to be with my team, to solve one challenge after another, and just to have that thought that we're able to somewhere today make someone's life a little better by giving them access to a doctor. And I really like unraveling more solutions and really upselling what we have created. So all these clinics, when we see in all the application partnerships that we have, give us an incredible opportunity to build upon them. So we started with consultations, telemedicine consultations. Now we're doing pharmacy. We're connecting patients to diagnostic centers. We are working on a very ambitious project of home healthcare, of providing geriatric patients, old age patients, special need patients access with nurses at their homes and connect them to telemedicine doctors. So the opportunities to provide good quality healthcare on the base that we've created are immense. And I think that just motivates me every day, that what new can we do with that population that we're impacting. If you had asked me 3 years ago, I was in this course, I would have never said that we're taking the solution outside Pakistan. I never thought that it would become big enough to take out of the country, but now it has. And we've gotten interest from partners to launch it outside Pakistan. So now I see, okay, 11 geographies in the next 5 years. What kind of geographical impact will we create, and how many lives are we going to make sure that do not end because of lack of quality of care? So I think my motivation really comes from the impact that we're creating, from the stories that we hear every day, from the lives we are saving. I also have two daughters now, and I come from a country where women are supposed to take a secondary or a supporting role in a man's life and not really do a lot. But when I see my daughters, they're growing up in a household, in a South Asian household, where their mother is working full time till 7 p.m. in the night, as I am today. They have their father who is playing a supportive role. They see a grandfather and a grandmother in the house who's okay with this entire transition, and they see a household which is supporting a woman really reach to her full potential. And that's the kind of legacy I want to leave for my daughters and women who are coming after me, that it's okay if you're working, if it's okay to have a career with a family. It's okay to ask for help. So what keeps me going is I also want to create that legacy for my daughters. And over time, I realized that you should only do in life, you get life once, you should do what you love. And I love my work. And I think for the next 20 years, I'll be sitting on this table talking to you if you're still here, Johnny, and talking on this course again. But yeah, I think it really fulfills me on a personal and professional level. And I hope that whoever is listening to their course, they find this passion in their company, in their organization as well. But if you find it, don't let it go. That's what I'll tell you, like love.
And in last 4 years of I have been interviewing you, I can see you certainly married, moved ahead of like.
I've certainly become more responsible, so that holds true.
Just in interest of time, any parting advice to our learners?
I think one thing that I've seen in all good, and I will say everyone, an entrepreneur, we're all founders. We find something and we nurture it. The only difference that I've seen in people who are successful or not, there's only one difference. People who stay, people who keep at it, people who learn from their failures, come back to work every day, find a new solution. It is a long haul. It is a marathon. You can't solve one of the biggest challenges the world faces in a couple of years. It is a long game. So anyone who wants to do it and who wants to create a solution, just prepare yourself that this is a longer game you need to play. And you need to constantly find that energy to come back again and again, even if it's not working, to find a new solution. Because one day, if you keep iterating long enough, you will find that product market fit that's going to help your solution grow. But you need to keep doing it and not falter off the course in the meantime.
Thank you so much for that advice. So entrepreneurship is a long haul.
Yes.
This was an absolutely delightful session with you, Dr. Sara, and thank you so much for all the generous sharing and your generous time. Congratulations on all the great work that you're doing, and we wish you all the best for your change-making journey. And you're such an inspiration, so I'm going to continue following your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure coming here year after year. And I know there might be a few questions that we didn't answer, so I'm happy to take them offline and answer them for the participants.
Great. And you can very easily find Dr. Sara on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with her there, ask her some more questions, you can do that. Thank you everyone for joining us. And for everybody who is watching us still, hope that you're enjoying module 2. I would just like to remind you that next week we'll be opening up module 3 that will cover strategies for advancing social innovation within your institutions. Please note the date, 2nd of November, when we are going to host our third webinar of the season, and we will be meeting with our guest expert, Beatrice Altman. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you.